blessed us with a view of his front yard last year. And David, I envy you. I mean, how can
Well,
you
I saw.
possibly deal with this after having the beauty of LA out your front window?
Yeah, that's what I keep saying. For this, we left LA.
I gotta love it. Well, it is BQ Sunday morning. We have had the debate. Um, the and we are now coming up on the 4th of July. You gotta love it. And so, what do you guys think a good topic of conversation might be today, Jim?
I want to talk about how we should elect Taylor Swift, but people on Threads don't think that's funny. So I suppose we should talk about where we are as a nation. And the thing is, or the part here that I think everybody's on. The last couple of days have been doom and gloom. Obviously, Biden didn't do very well in the debate, and that's not really very surprising. It's not really the kind of thing that he does well in. And it's the kind of thing himself excels at, because it's not really a debate. It's as those of you who follow me, who read what I write, it's a fire hose of bullshit. It's the Gish Gallop. It's everything that Trump does. He takes his 2 minutes to spew an endless fire hose of bullshit, and that's a technique. For those of you, everybody should be familiar with it by now. It's been 3 days, but if you're not, it's called the Gish Gallop. It's named after a guy named Dwayne Gish, who was a creationist back in the 70s, who used to use this technique to overwhelm debates about creationism and young Earth creationism, and he spew an endless line of falsehoods that it was impossible for educated people to refute, because you always look like a stumbling idiot because you don't know what to latch onto. You can't remember everything the guy said, and you always to spew more nonsense. And that's how it works. Gish was doing it on purpose. Trump isn't doing it on purpose. Trump is doing it because that's his personality. It's a form of intimidation that he uses. He's done this his whole life, probably since he was a little kid, and he just sprays you with a fire hose of liquid bullshit. And there's no way to respond to that without looking like an idiot. Now, I will say it, as I said online, Biden should have known how to deal with that. He's been for 4 years. He's run into it. He had an off night. He's got a cold. He's 80 years old. It happens. But the simple truth of the matter is, nothing's changed. You knew who Joe Biden was. You knew who Donald Trump was. You know what we're facing. You know what the problems are in the world. You know the situation. What's changed for you? I mean, your choices are to vote for fascism or stand against it.
Well, let's say something here. It's like I'm looking at.
It's been babbling, wait for you to come out of that background, David. All right, good. Go.
All right. Well, now I'm looking at HuffPost, and here's all the pundits saying Biden should withdraw. And it's like, for the good of the country. Where are these people saying Trump should withdraw for the good of the country? And it's like, why do we have the circular firing squad on the Democratic side? It's because the Republicans are in a cult and the Democrats are pragmatic. But, apparently the Biden family is having a meeting sometime today to decide what their future will be. If they throw it open for the convention to pick a nominee, there's several front runners, but it would probably be Kamala Harris. But I know Pete Buttigieg and even Gavin Newsom would be good candidates, any one of whom could demolish Donald Trump. But in order to deal with the bigotry on the right wing, or even the hidden bigotry of the independents, their best bet would be Gavin Newsom, although I would prefer Pete Buttigieg because he's had the most experience in the federal government right now. I would vote for Kamala Harris, too.
I will say to you that the loudest voices that I hear right now saying Biden should step down are all on the right-hand side. They're all they're Donald Trump. Donald Trump says that the nation, which I find absolutely fucking hilarious. But I'm watching the New York Times say Joe Biden should step down for the good of the nation. Listen, if you're on the side with those people, you're on the wrong fucking side. I don't want Joe Biden to step down. I don't want Joe Biden to step down. Now, if he chooses to do that because that's what he chooses to do, then I'll support whoever stands against Trump. I say that, but I'm sitting here looking at, I'm looking at, people that know me know that my office is a bunch of screens and there's social media flowing down, and I'm watching some of the less reputable platforms right now, and when I see scrolling down those screens is RFK wanting to step up. I'll take Joe Biden's place. Yeah, I bet you would, Worm Boy. Sit down.
Worm Boy. Oh, that's good. Yeah, Worm Boy. I like that.
God help us all that the choice is RFK and Donald Trump.
Yeah, I met his daddy. This one, now I would never accuse Ethel Kennedy of being unfaithful, but it's hard to believe RFK Jr. is actually the son of RFK.
The bottom line here is, and it's not. I joke, and that's the other thing that's happening this morning. I made a wisecrack on Threads earlier today about, stick with me here, but what if Joe Biden? Swift, and I said, of course, the hatred, the absolute fucking hatred this morning for Taylor Swift on the right hand side. The only one that would spin them up more than Joe Biden is Taylor Swift as a nominee. Now, obviously, that's a joke, but of the couple hundred replies to it, at least half of them are lefties that are just absolutely goddamn furious about the fact that I made a joke. Listen, folks. At this point, where we're at in this country, if you lose your sense of humor, you're not going to make it. All right. I spent 20 years in the military, 2 wars, and a lot of really hairy situations. And what gets you through is not letting the sons of bitches get you down. And I will tell you, nowhere in the world is there more humor than in an operating room, on a battlefield, in a tense flight control center, when everything's going to shit. That's
well, I learned
that's what you need to hang out.
This goes back 30 years for me. Is people said, what are the 2 most important things about adopting a kid? And I said 2 things: never stop loving your kid, and never lose your sense of humor, because you are going to get. Yeah, and the same thing is true with Aiden and Layla around here. It's like, if I'm not laughing, I'd be crying, because it's like, you
got to be able to. Humor is what gets you through. And I will say this again. If you're on the wrong side, there is no more humorless people in the world than Donald Trump supporters. My God, man, everything, whether it's breakfast cereal or pop music or goddamn whatever, everything is absolutely deadly serious. My God, it's the end of the fucking world all the time with these people. Don't be those people. Don't let these people suck the joy out of your life. If they destroy your ability to laugh, especially at yourself, you've lost. It's as simple as that. And I'll tell you something. You look at Joe Biden, the first thing that guy did after that disastrous debate was roll into a campaign rally and make fun of himself. It's the first thing that he did. If Joe Biden can laugh at himself, we can all laugh, okay? So don't lose your sense of humor, folks. We're going to win, okay? Whether Biden's the nominee or we're going to send these goddamn fascists back into the shadows. And I don't want to be left with a bunch of humorless lefties who are pissed off about it. You're going to win. All right, so maintain your sense of humor, for crying out loud. All right, it's over to you, David. Are you talking? I can't hear you. Your microphone went out. Me? Wait, there's somebody.
Okay. We lost David.
There you go.
We lost David. There he is. Oops, sorry.
All right. Go figure.
Gotcha.
Anyway, let me make a point here. It's not just Joe Biden we're voting for. It is his entire administration. We have an incredibly competent administration that's the reason why Build Back Better is working. is not that Joe Biden is micromanaging everything. He's got an administration of competent people who are committed to doing the job. You get Donald Trump in there, and what you get is corrupt thieves who are in it to see how much money they can loot from the national treasury, how much favors they can do for corporations and billionaires. And they will do what Ronald Reagan's administration did. They will rip out large handfuls of wiring and programs and procedures and all of the mechanics of government so they can get their way. Butts and Watts during Reagan administration destroyed the Department of Agriculture and the Department of the Interior. And that was the goal, is that Reagan was a figurehead for the right wing. Well, Trump is going to be a figurehead for the worst, not just the right wing, but the fanatics who want to end democracy. And in fact, Project 2025, one of the people behind it said, get ready for the end of democracy. Once we take over, he didn't say we're going to end the Constitution. He said, we're going to end democracy. And that's Trump. And Trump has already said he's going to be a dictator on day one. You think on day two, he's going to go back to being whatever he was before? Even that would be a disaster. No, he wants to be a dictator. He admires Adolf Hitler. He had Mein Kampf on his nightstand.
Yep. That's absolutely correct. The thing is, that kills me is that I had somebody say this to me yesterday online was, Trump really wasn't that bad. The only, he picked on my, immigrants, but other than that, he was really mostly just talk and bluster. And that guy got thrown out the airlock because that's an incredible amount of privilege that you think that the only people affected were some brown people from south of the border. We're still feeling the effects, the negative effects of the Trump administration. And frankly, I went out to coddle to try to haul him over to my side of the fence. I just don't have the goddamn patience or the energy for these assholes anymore. And the truth of the matter is, those people aren't going to show up and vote anyway. I don't have time for it. I don't have time to, if by now, if the last 10 years has not convinced you, then there's nothing that I can say to you. I mean, this is what we're talking. This is what I've written about the last couple of days. We keep these people. I've got a bunch of people yelling at me about the undecided voters. Who the hell's undecided in this country? Who's undecided? What, some goddamn pig shit covered farmer in Kansas somewhere? That guy's not going to vote anyway. The people, if you're undecided at this point, after all of this shit.
Well, traditionally, most people don't make up their minds until after Labor Day. It's like they're not paying attention to the news. They aren't. And the independents don't decide. Like in 2020, they did a poll, the independents, and like something 10% that said, well, I still haven't made up my mind. It's like, wait a minute, a week before the election, you still haven't made up your mind? You haven't been paying attention?
Those people are going to goddamn vote anyway. If they're affected, if they don't give a shit about all the people that are affected by this asshole and these fascists, they're not going to show up anyway. I'm sorry. Wow.
Well, there's one of the pundits I follow.
I did some horrible thing to my knee, and I've got an electronic unit on there right now that's periodically just sending voltage. Right. Woo. Sorry. Okay, go ahead.
All right. One of the members of the commentariat that I do follow, because he gets enough of his facts right, he says that Trump has never gotten more than 47% of the vote. And he doesn't expect Trump to be able to add to that because he's alienating so many people that, in fact, it may go down. Now, from his mouth to the ears of God, yeah, okay, but that doesn't mean I'm going to get cocky or relax or anything. It's like,
and please don't take me wrong. That's not what I mean. I don't have, you're undecided or you're on the fence or, I don't have a hell of a lot of time for you after all of this. If you haven't figured it out by now, there's nothing that I can say that's going to change your mind. But on the other hand, that's exactly right. You can't get cocky. You can't get complacent. I think there's a high probability that Donald Trump is going to go down in flames, and I sure as hell hope that's true. But one of the things that you learn in decades in the military is you hope for the best, and you plan for absolute disaster. And that's where we're at. You have to show up. That's the thing about this. The situation we find ourselves in, people are losing their rights. The country's going in the wrong direction. I mean, now we're going to impose the Bible on students in school. All of this stuff yesterday, we basically gutted the Chevron decision yesterday. All of these things happened because people just didn't give enough of a shit to show up. And even when it comes down to elections like this one, there's going to be 40% of people that are eligible to vote that don't show up because they just don't goddamn care enough. This is how we wind up here at Matt Gaetz in the district that I live in. It's 50-50. Half of them are Democrats, half of them are Republicans, and yet Matt Gaetz keeps getting reelected. He wouldn't if people that give a shit showed up, but they don't, because it doesn't affect them. And this is the situation that we find ourselves in. Everybody was warned in 2016. We let this asshole into office, we were going to go backwards. People are mad. Well, goddamn, Joe Biden hasn't done this.
He left us
backwards.
Yeah, Trump left us poorer, sicker, weaker. Did he create any jobs? No. Did he come up with that great health plan he promised? I'll reveal it in 2 weeks. Yeah, here it is. 8 years later, and he still hasn't revealed it. Did he end the national debt like he promised? No. He added at least $2 trillion to our national debt, maybe more. He added more to the national debt than all his predecessors combined.
4 trillion.
4 trillion. I mean, the man will say whatever he thinks you want to hear, but give him the authority or the power to do what he wants, and he's in it for himself. Right now, he doesn't want the presidency because he wants to make a difference for the country. He wants a presidency to keep out of jail. That's it. Right. His one goal is to keep out of jail. And quite frankly, seeing that man go to jail, I would, it's like, I don't know that I would be able to have a big enough party to celebrate. I don't know if my heart could stand the joy, but I would be willing to try.
Again, now speaking of jail, I will say this, about keeping your sense of humor. Tomorrow, Steve Bannon goes to prison. And I gotta laugh. I laugh all the way. I hope it's absolutely the worst goddamn 4 months of that asshole's life. That guy is a disgrace to the uniform that he wore, to the country. He's a greasy, unhealthy bum, and he belongs in goddamn prison. And it just makes me, of all the joyless shit that's happened in the last month, Steve Bannon going to prison tomorrow. Time's out. But I love the fact that he's going down swinging. I just saw an interview with him this morning where he's still threatening people. I'm coming to get you. Oh, you buddy, you keep that attitude up, Steve. You're going to need.
Yeah.
So there's that. So. Look, justice is slow. We went backwards. You're mad about the lack of progress that we're making as a nation. Well, that's what happens when you go backwards 2 steps. And again, the whole goddamn country was warned about this. I don't know how.
Well, the thing is, come 2016, there were people who were frustrated. There were people who didn't want to vote for a woman. There were people who thought what we need is a change of pace, and they believed that bull crap about they believed Trump was a successful businessman. And then they rigged the election in enough places. There was vote rigging, and there was Jill Stein pulled 10,000, 20,000 votes away from a key state, and Putin was investing money. And it's like, we have a lot of foreign nations pumping money into our elections. And but if Trump gets back into office, that's the end for global climate disruption. He will set back. We've made progress, but we'll be doomed. I mean, the Earth is going to heat up. That's his legacy. He'll make the planet unlivable. So
that's the thing.
Let me add something else. We don't know if Biden's going to withdraw. They're having a family meeting about that. We don't know, but that's one of the black swans that I predicted. Is there are things that we cannot predict that are going to happen. And Biden's debate performance was, we wanted Biden to go in there and kick the crap out of Trump. And instead he didn't. And we're all disappointed. So disappointed that some people say he's got to withdraw. Okay, but there's other black swans. What if Trump has a complete mental breakdown? What if he drops dead? What if, what if the Republican Party convention is such a fustercluck that their whole campaign falls apart? And in fact, any money being donated to the RNC, none of that is going to the downstate ground game. None of it is going to local candidates. None of it is going to win the election on the local level. It's half of it is going to pay Trump's legal fees, and the other half is going into Trump's own campaign or his pocket. Trump, and here's the point I wanted to make. Trump doesn't care if he wins the election because he's promising violence either way. He's promised. He has come out and said he's going to. He wants his followers to violently overthrow the results of the election, no matter what.
Right, and that's an excellent point, David. And again, if you watch the debate, if you read the stuff I wrote about it, and I'll write more about it. Hey, Adam, I see you there, man. I saw your comment go by. I wasn't sure what the boss was going to do. It's great to see you. But again,
thank you, Jim.
If you watch the debate, if you read the stuff that I wrote about it, and again, there'll be a lot deeper analysis this week. But if you've actually gone through and read the transcript, because reading the transcript's a whole lot easier. You see some things. There's some key points that come out of that debate. Number one, Donald Trump admitted openly that what happened on January 6th was a violent insurrection and that he was behind it. And that's exactly what he did, because he tried to blame it on Nancy Pelosi. If he really believed that it was just a couple of guys coming to support him, he wouldn't have tried to lay it on Nancy Pelosi. He wouldn't have tried to push off responsibility for not calling in the Army and the National Guard when it should have been done. That's one of the things that you should take away from that debate. And that's what the goddamn New York Times should be talking about today, and not Joe Biden's fucking cold. All right. That's a key point right there. Now this guy's yeah, go ahead.
Jim, look who joined us.
I know. I said hi.
Yeah.
Hi. Hey,
good to see you, Adam.
Hey.
Good to see
you. Good to see you. What I want to say is that it absolutely astonishes me, and it thoroughly astonishes me, that Joe Biden has admittedly a bad night. He was sick.